This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So let's start. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. So today we have our guest, Andrew from Rocket Consulting. He would be presenting us about the Rocket solution. So Andrew, let's start with your introduction first, and then we can move on to the presentation.
Yes, of course. I did have a little bit segued for that, but I'll start from here if that makes sense. So, first of all, thanks Prabhjot for inviting me along and allowing me to present to yourself and obviously your audience and welcome everyone wherever you are in the world. And I appreciate it's quite late some places, so very much appreciate people jumping on much later on in the evening on a Friday of all days. So appreciate that. I'm Andrew Garland, a sales solution specialist here at Rocket. What I'll be doing today is be running through a sort of a quick demo and presentation on how Rocket transform and supercharge SAP mobility for our customers using a solution that we've created and developed called Rocket Mobile. So would you like me to carry on from here, Prabhjot? Or do you have anything else to add at this point?
So we'll have the questions at the end, and if someone has any questions, so he or she can write it in the comment section, and we can take it at the end of the presentation.
Okay, that's
Over
fine
to
by me.
you,
Thank
Andrew.
you. Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've just introduced who I am, which is what this slide is. So, as I said, I'm a sales solution specialist here at Rocket. Um, I've got about roughly 8 years of experience in working with customers who are using mobile devices or software solutions to run their business. And what my experience has taught me is how important it is to have an optimized mobile strategy that not only both aligns the needs of the business, but also the needs of the people as well. So they go hand in hand. For those of you that are unaware of who Rocket are, I'll really give a really quick high-level introduction. Rocket Consulting deliver SAP business system transformations through our consultancy, support and implementation services. Our expertise lies with SAP digital supply chain solutions such as WM, EWM, TM, HANA, and other SAP ERP solutions. We typically work with businesses in the EU and more recently in the UAE region, but our products and services have been attracting attention to other regions worldwide. So hopefully in the future we can expand further out to those locations. And one caveat that I think I'll mention before we go on with the call, Rocket Mobile, the solution that I'll be talking about today is a mobile solution for us. So the simplicity of the implementation is far greater than our broader offerings as a business, which means that our reach to customers is far greater worldwide. So I'd just like to take a moment just to talk about how we do things differently here at Rocket from a SAP mobility point of view when we're delivering projects. At Rocket, we understand that it's important to look beyond just the transaction, the mobilization of the transactions. We also look into the important factors around delivering an efficient mobile strategy that includes the needs of the people at the heart of everything. Modern user expectations change rapidly, and the need for flexible on-demand workforces requires a fast onboarding time to ensure training costs and targets are met. So in order to achieve these expectations, it's important to provide optimal mobile devices, so handheld equipment, for the task and an interface that provides the necessary tools to support training needs and development needs as well. So at Rocket, we've helped a multitude of leading businesses achieve cost saving and process optimization benefits by taking away manual paper-based processes that hinder them and add additional time to their processes, and by providing them with tools to enable the users to be more self-sufficient in their role. So a future-proof mobile strategy should be focusing on the role of the user as a whole, and this is what we call the concept of design and operational thinking, which focuses on everything that the user has to do and support them in their role down to the most granular of details. So at this point, the question is, how do we achieve this using SAP mobility? So as the title says, Rocket Mobile. We achieve this by introducing our SAP mobile offering, Rocket Mobile. Um, Many of our customers over the year brought it to our attention and gave us a lot of feedback about the challenges and limitations and struggles they had with SAP standard mobile offerings. Some that come to mind, such as ITS Mobile or SAP Console. So we listened to their feedback and concerns of these customers, and we found a way to address these shortcomings by creating a solution that not only provides them with the optimization of mobile processes, but also with a myriad of other benefits that are delivered beyond the transaction in order to encapsulate everything that the workforce requires of its people, its processes, and the technology, ensuring that they are all aligned together. What's important also add at this point is here, and one of our greater advantages and what we've developed here is that it's important to know that the solution we've created here remains 100% core SAP with no middleware or additional servers. So just taking you through just a quick glance, and I will go through a demo very shortly just to show you the art of the possible and some of the things that I'm referring to. I'd just like to show you a few screenshots just to show some immediate differences between some standard SAP screens. On the left, we've got an ITS mobile screen, and on the right, we have a Rocket mobile screen. So here, what I'm trying to highlight straight away is the improvement in look and feel that Rocket Mobile's login menu, for example, gives when compared to what's on SAP standard. It's far more engaging, presentation of information is better, and the overall aesthetic has been improved, while again remaining 100% SAP core. You'll also notice that we've worked on branding aesthetics, company color coding, all these sorts of things to improve brand engagement, and the user wouldn't necessarily know that it was a third-party solution delivered by Rocket because it could have the company's logo on it, their color schemes throughout the solution, as well as any imagery, which I'll show you later, tailored to the product range that business offers. What we have learned, and obviously this probably goes without saying, is that users who are using a dual dated or poorly aligned presentation screen, so much like on the left as an example, struggle with that user engagement and adopting, and training times are increased. In particular, if you're a seasonal worker or someone that comes into an environment such as a warehouse and you start looking at these screens for the first time, there's going to be a little bit of resistance. So what we've tried to do, and what we have done, is introduce a way of cleaning this up, making it clear, concise, and visually appealing, and more akin to what people use in their free time to dramatically improve those training times, as those user adoption times. And all these things have a huge impact on the business, especially with the things I've mentioned, such as high staff turnover and an influx of seasonal workers. Just going to show you this one more screen here without boring you too much on before and afters, but here is just probably what I think is a greater example of showcasing a before and after when comparing a sort of standard SAP mobile screen and what we've created on Rocket Mobile. So as you can see on the left, we have quite a cluttered, unaligned, poorly presented, doesn't get the most out of the screen solution that operatives will be using. They'll struggle to use this perhaps. They may not gravitate towards it to begin with. They may resist. It may take them an awful lot of time to really understand what's there. What we've done with our solution is we've simplified the screen flow. We've provided optimization of the interface, so it only shows relevant information to the transaction. We've decluttered it, removed empty redundant fields, abbreviations, made things simple, made things digestible and understandable for people that are new. And ultimately, we've added some improved navigation and a lot of other features, which I'll go through shortly when I do the demo, to improve everything for the task for the user, but all the other things that they need for them to support and do their tasks more efficiently within a warehouse environment, for example. So if you can just bear with me just for a moment, I'm just going to come out of the slideshow and I'm going to share another screen just while I show you a really quick demo of Rocket Mobile and go through some screens and talk you through that. Okay. There we go. Oh, sorry, one moment. Thank you. Shared the wrong screen, apologies. Okay, so hopefully you should be able to see my browser at the moment. Prabhjot, could you just
Yes,
let me
we
know if you
can.
can see that at all? Brilliant, thank you.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
okay, thank you very much. So, yeah, so this is just a look at Rocket Mobile. This is a kind of a linear demo that I'm presenting you here. It doesn't show you everything in Rocket Mobile. It can do so much more than this, but this is to give you the art possible to help you understand the flow. And the scenario that we have here is let's say I'm a warehouse operative picking up my mobile device, my rugged mobile device. So the device in the background probably isn't representative of what you would have in a warehouse. But if you're using some sort of rugged handheld wearable device or forklift device, you could have Rocket Mobile on your screen to start your picking activities for an outbound scenario. So what they would have is they would log into their mobile device. They would have easy to understand screens. They'd have a simple login menu. They'd have the branding and all the things that help them engage with the products and the brands. And it would be a nice flow, clearly aligned screens, and it would be nice to actually and enjoyable to actually use in comparison to standard SAP screens. So as you can see, we've addressed some of the screens, made them simplified. We've made some of the standard SAP workflows a lot more attractive. We've added imagery to help navigation perform more simply, to help identify where they need to go, how they're going to do their inbound, how they're going to do their outbound. So in this case, I'm just taking you through a slow process of what they would do. This is quite linear, this bit here, and showing you what we've done with the solution. I've taken us to this screen here because this is where we start to see some of the major benefits outside of just the transaction and the end-to-end itself. We've introduced a number of different features in Rocket Mobile to help support the warehouse and their operatives with a variety of different tasks. This is one that we call contextual help. So very simple and effective. Warehouse operatives will have a multitude of different tasks to complete using their handheld device. And what we've incorporated is a way of having information at every stage to support them. How do I scan this? Where is this number? Can I have some support with a specific thing that maybe I'm struggling with? And they'll have access to that through their mobile device using Rocket Mobile at different stages during the transaction. What we've also added to the solution is, and in this case, what the warehouse operative will be doing is picking from a custom selection list. So if you're picking from a manual process, you're picking from a handling unit in order to take an item and get it ready for dispatch that day to be sent out to a customer or sent out to another location, you'll either have to manually enter that information in standard SAP Mobile, or in Rocket Mobile, what you'll be able to do is use a drop-down list, a possible values drop-down list for allowing that process to be far easier. So if you're repetitively doing the same thing over and over throughout a day, you can just return back to this drop-down list, reselect where you're picking from, and carry on. It minimizes the time and the impact on manual processes and manual input. So again, another simple and effective way of doing that. Once we navigate onto the next screen, this is what I'd say is sort of a standard picking screen. You'll have to, I won't flesh it out too much, but you'll ultimately need to scan a number of different barcodes associated to the product or the items that you're looking to move out of the warehouse. As you can see, we've simplified this. We've made it really straightforward, easy to understand, no abbreviations. And there's a lot of other things that we've added here, which I'll take you through. So what I'm going to look like I'm doing at the moment is scanning these barcodes. And when I do scan these barcodes, it's going to present me with a green confirmation tick. And why is that important? That's important because when you've got a new user or warehouse operatives that are doing a lot of jobs throughout a day, they're moving around, it's quite a busy environment, they need to know that what they're doing is correct. And when they do get that confirmation to know that it's been done correctly, A, it helps them, gives them confidence that they're doing the job correctly. And B, it also helps with training going forward that, okay, maybe, I don't need as much support now. I know where things are. It just adds an extra level of validation to ensure that they're doing their job correctly. And ultimately, it helps management with new starters and helps support them with their training needs. Another thing that I'll add on this screen while we are on here, yes, we've picked the item that we want to look at. We've added another unique feature called product imaging. Hopefully you can see that. Ultimately, this can be used in a variety of different things, and this would be stored in a location, perhaps on the SAP backend. And what would happen is you can pull the image up of what you're working with to add that actual visual verification, beneficial to different businesses depending on what they're picking with, whether they're picking by brand, whether they're picking by colors, whether they're picking from hangers. Either way, all we're doing is adding additional accuracy and confirmation that a task is being done correctly, and also introducing that product engagement, which is important as well to fulfilling tasks correctly. Now, before I move on to the next screen, I'll just call out, I'm just going to return back to this in a moment, but while we're going through a flow of end-to-end, I'll just show you the next screen when we go to the destination. So this particular end of the scenario is we've scanned our items, we've moved them through the warehouse, we want to dispatch this, we want to give it to a delivery driver, whatever that might be. There's a responsibility handover here. So I'm going to scan the barcodes relevant to the destination I'm taking it to. But then what we've introduced with Rocket Mobile is a proof of evidence feature unique to our solution. This is designed to help with emerging needs for digital evidence and auditing purposes. So this will provide information such as shipment quality, carrier ownership, and other paperwork that goes together with a responsibility handover and when things are taken out of a warehouse and sent to an end customer. So I'll show you a little bit more by going through this. So what would basically happen here is the warehouse operative would hand over the item or items to the delivery driver in this scenario. The delivery driver then has the opportunity to fill out the information on the screen. I'm just going to put my name in there for now. I'm going to say that I'm a courier. And then I'm going to write any comments and narratives supporting that. So has everything gone okay? Have I received all the parts that I should have received? Is there any minor damage here? Just so we've got some auditing at the time of this handover to know when things were fine or where things have maybe started to deteriorate if they have. So I'm just going to put for this scenario that everything is okay. And then I'm going to put a little squiggle on here as the courier driver to say I've taken responsibility for that. But what I'm also going to do here is I'm going to take a photograph. And what this allows the mobile device to do is take a photograph of the handover and provide additional evidence to support what's taken place there. So the quality of the item at the time, how did it look? What was it like when it was passed to me? One final thing that I'll add here, and something that I can't really show you in this demo, is when you have any delivery manifests or any other documents related to a handover or a change of responsibility, you can also capture them within the solution as well. So that when we press this tick option here, what should happen is a PDF will be generated. And this PDF will be generated and automatically stored in the SAP backend. And it's going to have all that useful information that you've captured through your transaction process there. So the name of the operative, the time, the name of the courier, what was captured, any images, any signatures. And this is then kept for auditing purposes. It saves time dealing with paperwork, creates automation, and limits any time that people are then scanning information that has to be stored in the back end. And what that operative then can effectively do is go straight back to the start of their process and start picking again. So what we're trying to do there is create automation, remove paper-based activities, support the workers with everything that they need within the transaction, and then more. So I'm just going to take the opportunity to go straight back in now and just look at some of the additional features within Rocket Mobile that support the users further. And I'll start by just going through this feature here, which is our user profile and KPI section. So when a warehouse operative has a device assigned to them, has their name, has their role, and even has an image on there, they'll generally show greater adoption and responsibility for the role and the device that they've been allocated. It's a simple but effective way of making sure that people take greater responsibility. And obviously the mobile devices that they look after, rugged hardware, are often quite expensive. So you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to ensure they're returned back to the correct location at the end of the day. The other feature within this section is KPI driven. So this is there to create a performance culture in the warehouse. So this performance information is what's available to the employee to help them with development. How am I doing? Where am I? Am I hitting my targets? What am I struggling with? And what it does is creates transparency between the operative, their management, and how well they're doing, whether they're struggling with something and need further training needs, or whether they're a key performer and perhaps need, maybe some sort of incentive or a reward for doing a job well done, however you want to manage that. Another simple tool here, I'll just call this one out really quickly. This is just an information button. And why this is really useful is it's there to support with testing. It has the power to quickly report concisely on information and where issues have manifested. So I've had an issue while I'm picking, and I don't want to interrupt what I'm doing necessarily with this screen on this transaction at this step. and I can quickly get a screenshot of that, report it back to my management, and then I don't need to start passing messages on or walking across the warehouse to communicate this, just trying to maintain as much productivity and efficiency as possible while capturing all the key information that we need. And finally, two options for some solutions here that benefit the warehouse functions and support everyone, not only the operative, in a great way, is being able to use the camera function again on the solution. So in here, we have our Snap and Go feature. And what we've tried to do with our Snap and Go and what we have created with Snap and Go is a way of making the warehouse operatives more self-sufficient and empowering them to do more and giving them greater responsibility and capability. Often things don't go right or correctly as you would want them to in a warehouse environment or a busy environment. Sometimes things fall off shelves, sometimes obstructions are appeared, sometimes you can't get to where you need to go and you need to report this quickly. So what the solution allows them to do is take a photo of the issue. In this case, we've got fallen boxes in a particular aisle. They can take a photograph, send that on, that will go to the back end, that will again go to a duty manager. They'll be able to see that. That operative can then carry on, if they can, doing their job. The management will be able to address that and more quickly and concisely again come and correct that, because that problem is not only just going to affect this warehouse operative if it's an aisle that they can't get down, but it's going to affect possibly the rest of the workforce when they're eventually needing to go down that aisle to do whatever activities they need to do. And finally, probably the last thing that I'm going to show you in this demo here before I return back to the deck is our equipment checks feature. So the equipment checks feature is similar to Snap and Go in a way, but ultimately what we're trying to do is drive the operation to monitor and minimize the impact that equipment outages can have on the business. So if, for example, in your warehouse, you have a lot of different devices and processes and technology, those things can have issues from time to time. Maintenance can be required. So what we've achieved here is we've created a way of either proactively asking our workforce to go out and keep an eye on these things and do manual maintenance checks on things as they pass them. Or let's say I'm doing a picking task, I've just happened to go by a problem, I've noticed that there's a problem with a forklift, and I'm going to call that out before it becomes a problem for someone else when it's actually needed. So I'm just going to say here, in this case, we've got a flat tire. And in the same way as Snap and Go, what we do is report that back, and then we can provide an overview to the duty manager, the site manager, whoever's in charge on that day, to say, I've noticed an issue here, it could impact someone else. And again, it's given that user capability and responsibility outside of just the transaction. Okay, so thank you for listening to that. I'm just going to return back to the deck just to finish off, go through a few more bits, and then obviously I'll open up the floor to any questions, of course.
It's fun.
Okay, thank you for waiting. So hopefully you can see my screen again. What I've basically shared on my screen at the moment is we've created a list of some technical gains from Rocket Mobile over what we currently have with SAP standard mobile processes and screens and what you get as standard. So what I have mentioned throughout and what I like to emphasize, because it's a very strong benefit to users who are using Rocket Mobile, is Rocket Mobile is done all within SAP with no middleware, additional servers, unlike many of the third-party solutions that offer similar improvements. Rocket Mobile can run in a multitude of different device formats, making different makes, different models, whether you're scanning from a handheld, whether you've got a mounted wearable, or whether you're driving a forklift. Rocket Mobile will have you covered in all of those areas. Rocket Mobile, and one of the greater features I feel anyway, and something that I've touched upon just while doing the demo, is that Rocket Mobile enables the ability to augment SAP Mobile with forms, photos, PDFs, and other enhancements through the device to reduce manual paper-based processes while also minimizing errors, because you're spending less time manually filling out documents and adding additional steps to your process. Rocket Mobile integrates and enhances existing SAP mobile transactions without the disruption and can run in parallel with your existing SAP mobile screens, which enables for simple and fast deployment and easy migration. So, for example, if you're using ITS Mobile, you can bring Rocket Mobile to run in side by side from that without impacting ITS Mobile and how that's working until the time that you are ready to launch Rocket Mobile and take over what you were previously doing on ITS. Furthermore, I'd like to add that ABAP developers can use a Rocket Mobile cockpit that we've designed to change screen layouts and designs without the need for additional development work to accelerate future changes and optimizations. So we're giving the ABAP developers within businesses who have got that skill set the ability to change some of the appearances, the presentation, some of the transactions without having to involve ourselves and any future developments. And finally, on this slide, and I won't delve into this in too much detail because I don't think it's completely relevant, but some of the detail that I've put on the right-hand side relates to a brief overview of our subscription model, which allows Rocket Mobile customers to pick the features that they require around their requirements in their warehouse. So it doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all. We can work with them to provide them with the solutions and the benefits that they value more. Before I bring the presentation to a close on Rocket Mobile specifically, it might be helpful to some of you to know that we've created a self-assessment tool to help businesses understand at what stage they are in their current mobile journey and how we can help them and how they can help themselves get to where they want to be. What we've done is we've created a self-assessment framework of 27 key warehouse defining priorities that relate to warehouse mobility and productivity. And our reason for doing this is that we want to help businesses achieve productivity gains. And by using this framework from our vast experience as a business thought leader and working with different projects and successful mobility projects, we want to help them get to where they want to be in their mobility journey. What the self-assessment tool will show you is the gaps between your current mobility state and your desired future mobility state. This will be measured around things like warehouse productivity, usability, capability, user experience, training adoption, and many, many more things. So should any of you want to or wish to complete their own mobile warehouse evaluation after this call, please reach out to Prabhjot, who I'll be providing links to this so you can take your own evaluation. It's a completely free document. It just allows you to have a little play around and understand where you are to hopefully provide some benefit if that's an area that you're looking at expanding in. And yes, of course, we have a Rocket Mobile demo that you can download yourself. You can either pick that up from the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. But please note that this is a demo version only. It doesn't have any backend. So much like the one I showed you, it was quite a linear demo, and it doesn't showcase all the benefits of Rocket Mobile, just some of the art of the possible that I went through today. So what I'd like to say is thank you for listening. Hopefully that's been something that has helped there. If you have any questions, obviously, I believe Prabhjot will be leaving that in a moment, but any links to anything that you've seen in here, you can find on our website or through Prabhjot after the call, should you request to speak to him directly. And you can find that on our website at www.rocket-consulting.com. So again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for this wonderful presentation. So we have a couple of questions here. So let me start with the first one. So it says, can mobile application, including ITS Mobile, work with 4G connection if in case the Wi-Fi is weak in some parts of the warehouse?
Can I just introduce myself briefly? Because I'm here for the question
Lewis.
section. Hi, it's Lewis Marston here, CEO
Welcome.
of Rocket, and I also head up the research and development part of the business, where products like Rocket Mobile are innovated and created. So I've come along to help with the questions and answers. So I'm more than happy to take over if you like, Andrew. So
Yeah,
so
absolutely fine by me. Thanks, Lewis.
And you know, ITS Mobile is, as a foundation, it's quite robust, we all know, but the example you've just given is an area where the user experience is really poor. If you get a disconnection, SAP would say it manages it, but it's a really poor experience. So what we do with Rocket Mobile is we manage a disconnection for a temporary disconnection and a reconnection in a much more user-friendly way. And it's one of the key benefits. So quite often if we're deploying to a yard, for example, where mobile infrastructure is not in place, we might be using 3G or 4G. There's two things. We've optimized the data bandwidth on it, but we also manage the occasional disconnection. At the moment, it's not designed as a full online-offline solution, because generally we're looking at inside the enterprise connection, but that is in the roadmap. And but yeah, certainly for that question, it provides a much better handling of that scenario.
Okay. So thank you. And then let me go to the second question. So second question says, can we have a completely offline solution for handheld?
Okay, so this is similar. So this is in the roadmap of the product. We built a working prototype last year for a customer, and they had a really good business case that if they lost 2 hours of production, which they did every month due to scheduled downtime, the business case was huge. So
Hmm.
at the moment, we've got it as a let's call it a minimum viable product, and it allows us to handle specific scenarios. We don't try and recreate and support everything because that would be really difficult in the reconciliation phase afterwards. But yes, we're ready to go with that, and we're going to deliver it on a customer project specific basis initially. So if there's a need, we've got a working demo for offline capability, and we could productize that, but we would do that initially on for a real customer.
Okay. And then this is a native application, right? So we have a application which can be downloaded from the app stores, correct?
So correct, and also not necessary. So we
Hmm.
have two deployment methods. One we can deploy as a through the web browser in the same way we would deploy ITS Mobile. So we'd put an industrial web browser onto a mobile device. We have a second deployment option, which is where we use a native app, either Android or iOS. Honestly, typically Android. Most rugged devices are Android based, and that gives us some additional capability that we can use by having a native app. But for the most simple deployment, we can just deploy straight on through a web browser. So yeah, we cover both.
Okay, okay. And then obviously the authorization objects would be taken care of if we have to restrict the
So
authorization to someone.
yeah, exactly. I mean, hopefully it came across in the presentation. The we take the best of the robustness and resilience of SAP, and we don't break that at all. So all of the standard authorization objects, access controls, data models, and processes and process configuration reside still within SAP. So if you build a data authorization model, which you would as part of a deployment, whether it's WM or EWM, extended warehouse management, that stays exactly the same.
Okay, okay. And then when it comes to the PDF and the images, so where does this get stored? Is it directly in the SAP or it stays within the application?
So that's a great question. Thank you. What we wanted to do was provide the best user experience, and that means making those PDFs or images available directly from the associated document. And so, for example, if it's for, let's say we're doing an inspection as part of a delivery outbound process, we might decide for that customer that we want to store the proof of evidence in the delivery. So it's stored into SAP, generic object services, and you can access that directly through the SAP document. So it's really straightforward. Again, if it was for a extended warehouse management task, then you can access it through there. So it's stored against the appropriate object. If a customer prefers to use a document repository service, some do, it can also be diverted to that. So, but what we found for most customers is they're only using those because they haven't had a solution that allows it to be embedded directly within the SAP document object. So we think it's a much more elegant approach, and certainly better than scanning a piece of paper and then manually attaching it.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're right. And coming to the next question, I hope it can work both on iOS, Android, as well as on the tablets, various
Yeah,
different
so
devices.
it's a responsive design. So the first thing is if you're using different formats of mobile device, anything from, if you look at consumer devices, the format's not fixed, so it does vary slightly. Equally, if you go out to a tablet, it will responsively resize for the tablet. Equally, if you're
Hmm.
looking at vehicle mount devices, which are landscape design, or wearable devices on the arm, it will reorient and scale accordingly. Um, and yes, you can use it on. We support um, iOS and Android. Actually, we've got it running on some of the vehicle-mounted devices are also Windows-based, but not the old-fashioned Windows
Huh.
3.1 CE, which is
Yeah.
non-supported and shouldn't be
Hmm.
used anywhere because
Yeah.
it's got lots of security vulnerabilities. So yeah,
Yeah.
fully supported. And I should say it's optimized. It allows you to optimize not just different form factors, but different interaction factors. So wearables and touch button devices, versus if you're using keys or function keys. So for different working environments, it's fully compatible buttons, screens, or even building in voice and things.
Okay. And then one more question that I have. Uh, so EWM uses a lot of exception codes. If there's a pick denial, or if there is the product is not available, or the batch is not available. I hope those scenarios are also covered.
Well, they're more than covered. So if
Hmm.
I think we're talking to an experienced audience here. One of
Yeah.
the challenges, even using a workstation, is we all know that SAP error messages are um, minimalistic and not particularly helpful. So when we're
Right.
working on a mobile device, so tied into exception codes, the exception code might be that you've put in something that then gives a error or an information message. They can be tailored. It's very, very obvious in terms of feedback to the user. Am I getting information? Am I getting an error? It can be different audible. And also we can enhance drop-down lists. So we can make it easier for people to input that type of data that so in certain scenarios obviously scanning is ideal, but in some scenarios it might be more that a selection or possible values is more appropriate. So all of all of the normal scenarios for batch, serial, and exception codes, again, the application is built where possible to always use the SAP configuration and the SAP process, so seamlessly. Yeah.
Okay. And I hope all the scenarios like inbound, outbound, internal, and physical inventory, and all those are covered by default.
So every transaction that comes out the box with SAP with ITS Mobile, which, as you know, is can't remember the number now, but it's a substantial number with
Hmm.
EWM and a reasonable number with warehouse management. All of those work automatically in Rocket Mobile. You don't. It's like there are some. We know there's some products on the market, and you have to build every transaction as bespoke. That is not the
Hmm.
case. We take what comes with SAP and we enhance it and make it better. So if SAP tomorrow releases 10 new transactions for EWM built for ITIS Mobile, they will automatically be able to be used in Rocket Mobile. If you develop your own transactions, they will automatically work in Rocket Mobile. What you can do though is then use all of the features and functions in developing your transactions. So you don't have to develop, for example, the ability to attach a PDF document from scratch. You use the service. So it really
Hmm.
speeds up any development of new transactions. Or if you saw the proof of evidence as a good example, you can go and add that into any ITS mobile transaction in a non-disruptive way. You don't have to go in and copy it and make your own version and so on and so on. So it reduces that overhead, which we do on every project of having to enhance the standard transactions. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So another good
And
question.
yeah, so coming to the most interesting question. So how is this licensed, and how much will it cost?
So I'll give you the structure. So we
Hmm.
break it down based on the typical capability that customers want. Um, and we do it on a subscription model. And it's really, really easy to justify. There's three models. One is based on just making the look and feel in the engagement of the application better. Then we add some of the sort of core functions. And then the top level, so it's a three-tiered subscription, provides the more advanced features. So things like the proof of evidence and inspections and the things that you've seen. So the first thing is it can be priced for what the customer needs today, and they can always upgrade in the future.
Hmm.
Subscription based, and the subscription includes the technical maintenance and support as well. Now, to give you an idea, um, when we look at a return on investment, we've priced it so we can have conversations with customers that says, do you think you can save 10 minutes a day from a particular user process, or a working day, or 20 minutes? It's very small. So we're talking about less than £1 a day, for example, for a user. So it's at a point where it should be really easy to make a justification. I don't know if we're going to send through the link for pricing. I haven't got the pricing in front of me. I'm not sure what was agreed, if we'll send that as a follow-up, or if you
Hmm.
showed that already, Andrew. But we can send the three pricing tiers. I think they're available on our website anyway. To give you an idea,
Sure.
so the top, if you want all of the advanced features and you want to be able to develop it for yourself, it's £36 a month. I know we've got an audience from different currency zones here, but GBP 36.
Yeah.
The one we deploy most often is £24 a month, and the really lightweight version, which we typically only make available as part of our projects because we embed it as part of the service, is
Hmm.
£12 a month. So again, if you
Okay.
start breaking that down to the minutes that need to be saved each month, it's a really easy return on investment. I think the question just popped
Good.
up about, does that include the updates? So what you get with the subscription is any technical issues are obviously solved, and then we will make a release available to the customers that are subscribing, either once or twice a year. It doesn't cover the implementation cost. If the customer says, "Can you help me implement it?" then of course that's just like a normal consulting. So
Hmm. Okay. Good. And I think we are almost done with the questions. So if anyone has any questions, so he or she can ask, and then we are good to close this session. Any questions, guys? Okay, I'll take this silence as no questions. So thank you very
can I
much,
ask a
guys.
question before we go?
Yeah,
So
go.
in
Go ahead.
GoToMeeting, there's a lovely little button at the bottom which says React. If I could ask everyone to give a thumbs up if they found it useful, I'll just get a quick glean of immediate feedback of how the session's been. Thank you.
Yeah, pretty much. I have probably, I would say I have loved this.
Great. And I don't know if it was covered, if there's developers on the call, um, what you'd be seeing is this is a great extra skill to differentiate in the marketplace, is knowing how to deploy more quickly using Rocket Mobile.
Yeah,
So we're not just interested in talking to the end customers, but it's about being able to im differentiate yourself when you're talking to your customers to say, I can deliver mobile solutions faster and to a higher standard based on new skills that I can bring to the party as a
sure,
Rocket Mobile
sure,
developer.
sure, Luis. So any other message that you want to give to the audience before we close?
I'll let you close off, Andrew. I mean, I appreciate everyone coming.
No, I
Thank
think
you.
I was just going to say, I think we've thank you for listening, everyone, first and foremost. I think I started the call by saying thank you for joining. I know people are from different areas of the world. It's a lot later on a Friday evening for some people than it is here. So really appreciate your time and your patience listening to myself, and the Q&A at the end was great. Um, if you want to reach out on any of the things that we've shown you throughout the demo today, there's a few things that I touched upon: self-assessment, warehouse. Self-assessment warehouse document that we have, or if you wish to have a look on our website at some of our other offerings that we have on there, please visit our website or contact Prabhjot directly after the call, and we'll ensure that we get whatever content you're after over to you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you, Lewis, and thank you everyone for joining. It was a wonderful, wonderful session, and probably we'll do it again in some time from now. Thank you, Lewis, for everything.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks,
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye. Take
Bye-bye.
care, man. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.